Samuel Hartley's new wedding to his side chick had stopped Lagos traffic. Echo Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island was glowing with white lights. Cameras flashed. Guests in clean designer clothes laughed as if nothing bad had ever happened in the world. Inside the hall, Samuel stood beside his new bride, Victoria Hawthorne, rich, divorced, and proud. Victoria's smile was sharp, like she had won a prize. Samuel lifted the microphone. His voice shook with excitement. "Today," he said, "I married peace." Then the huge doors at the back of the hall opened, not softly. They opened like someone in charge had arrived. A line of black SUVs rolled into view outside the glass walls. Men in dark suits stepped out first. Security guards, calm and hard-eyed, speaking into tiny earpieces. The music slowed. The laughter died. People turned. Phones rose. And then Samuel saw her. A woman stepped in, tall and calm, wearing a simple cream dress that looked more expensive than any gown in the room. She did not rush. She did not smile. 3 little children walked beside her, same age, same face shape, same eyes, triplets. Samuel's mouth went dry, because the woman was his ex-wife, Regina, the woman he had pushed out of his house when she was pregnant, the woman he had divorced like she was nothing. Samuel gripped the microphone tighter. Victoria's hand dug into Samuel's arm. "Why is she here?" Victoria whispered, smiling through her teeth. Regina's eyes met Samuel's eyes from across the hall, and she said clearly, so everyone could hear, "Hello, Samuel." Samuel felt the floor move under him, because behind Regina, more people entered, high-profile people, the kind of people you see on TV, the kind of people that do not stand when a normal person walks in. But they stood now, and Samuel suddenly understood something terrible. Regina did not come alone. She came like a queen, and in that moment, Samuel knew. This was not a visit. This was the end of his life as he knew it. Months earlier, Samuel's world had looked perfect from the outside. He lived in Lekki Phase 1, in a fine duplex with shiny floors and silent air conditioners. He drove a black SUV that made people respect him before he even spoke. He worked in Ikoyi, in a tall glass office where staff members greeted him with, "Good morning, sir," like it was a prayer. But inside Samuel's house, peace did not live there. His mother, Mrs. Beatrice Hartley, lived with them too. She was always dressed like she was going to a party, even on a Monday morning. Her words were sweet in public, but bitter at home. And Regina was trying. Regina was pregnant, and she was tired. She still cooked, still cleaned, still smiled when Samuel brought guests home, still tried to keep the house warm. But Samuel had changed. He started coming home late. He started guarding his phone like it was gold. When Regina asked simple questions, he would look at her like she was a problem. One evening, Regina sat on the edge of their bed and said gently, "Samuel, are you okay? You barely talk to me anymore." Samuel did not answer right away. He loosened his tie, then tossed it on the chair. "You worry too much," he said. Regina nodded slowly. "I just want us to be fine." Samuel laughed once. It was not a kind laugh. "You want us to be fine," he repeated. "Then stop looking like someone who has given up." Regina blinked. "What do you mean?" Samuel pointed at her head. Regina's hand moved up without thinking. She touched her hair. It had started thinning. Not because she wanted it. Not because she did anything wrong. It was just happening. More strands on the pillow. More strands in the comb. More fear in the mirror. Regina's voice went small. "I'm trying. I don't know why." Samuel cut her off. "You used to be beautiful, Regina. Now you look." He paused, like he was searching for the best insult. "Now you look tired all the time and ugly." Regina swallowed. "I'm pregnant." "And?" Samuel snapped. "My mother was pregnant 4 times and still looked good. Don't use pregnancy as an excuse." Mrs. Beatrice walked in at that moment, as if she had been listening behind the door. "I have been saying it," she announced. "Some women enter marriage and become careless. A man needs to be proud of what he brings outside." Regina's eyes filled, but she tried to stay calm. "Mummy Beatrice, I'm not careless. I've been feeling weak. I think I should go to the hospital." Samuel rolled his eyes. "Hospital again?" Regina, you like drama. Regina stared at him. Drama? You heard me. Regina stood up, holding her belly. I'm carrying your child, Samuel. Samuel stepped closer. And you should be grateful you are carrying it in this house. Some women would have been sent back to their father's house by now. Regina's heart beat fast. She did not understand how Samuel's love turned into this cold thing. And it got worse, because the next day, Victoria Hawthorne arrived. Not at the gate, not as a visitor. Victoria walked into Samuel's office in Ikoyi like she belonged there, wearing a fitted suit and a bright smile. Regina had come with lunch that day. She wanted to surprise Samuel. She had even forced herself to look fresh. She entered the reception area, holding the food pack, and then she saw Samuel with Victoria. Too close, too familiar. Victoria was laughing, touching Samuel's arm like she owned it. Samuel leaned in and said something that made Victoria smile even wider. Regina's chest squeezed. A young staff member saw Regina and looked away quickly, like she did not want to be part of it. Regina walked forward slowly. Samuel. Samuel turned. For 1 second, his face showed fear. Then it became anger. What are you doing here? He asked. I brought you lunch, Regina said, lifting the pack. Victoria looked Regina up and down, then smiled. Oh, so this is the wife. Regina did not speak to Victoria. She kept her eyes on Samuel. Who is she? Samuel's jaw tightened. She is a colleague. Victoria laughed softly. A colleague that traveled with him to Abuja last weekend. A colleague that knows his favorite meal. Regina's knees went weak. People were watching now. Some were pretending not to. But everyone was listening. Regina whispered, Samuel. Why? Samuel's voice rose. Don't start embarrassing me here. Regina shook her head. I'm not embarrassing you. You are embarrassing me. Samuel stepped closer, speaking low so only she could hear. Go home, now. Regina's eyes burned. I am your wife. Oh, Samuel's voice turned cold. Not for long. Those words followed Regina home like a shadow. That night, Samuel did not come home early. When he finally came, his mother was waiting in the living room like a judge. Samuel, Mrs. Beatrice said, we cannot continue like this. This marriage is blocking your blessing. Regina stood by the stairs, holding her belly, listening. Samuel loosened his cufflinks slowly. I know. Regina's throat went dry. Know what? Samuel looked at her, no softness in his eyes at all. I'm done, he said. Regina's voice shook. Done with what? Done with this life, Samuel replied. Done pretending. Done suffering. Regina's lips parted. Suffering? You? Samuel pointed toward the streets. Pack your things. Regina stared at him like she did not understand English. Pack? My things? Yes, Samuel said, louder now, like volume could turn wrong into right. Pack your things and leave my house. Mrs. Beatrice nodded sharply. Finally, Regina took a step back. Samuel, I am pregnant. Samuel's face did not change. Regina whispered, This is your child. Samuel walked to the door, pulled it open, and pointed outside into the night under a heavy rain. Leave, he said. Regina's eyes searched his face for any sign of regret. There was none. Her hands trembled, and as she walked away, she heard Victoria's voice behind her. Victoria was on a speaker call, laughing. Don't worry, Victoria said confidently. Once she leaves, we can start planning our wedding. Regina froze. Wedding? She turned back slowly. Samuel stood there, silent, not denying it, not correcting it, just letting it be true. Regina's stomach twisted, and then, her phone buzzed in her palm. A message flashed on the screen from a saved contact name she had not used in years. Dad. The message was only 5 words. Regina, where are you? Regina's breath caught. Samuel saw the screen light up. His eyes narrowed. Who is that? Regina looked at him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were no longer begging. It's too late to ask, she said, and Samuel felt a strange chill crawl up his spine, because Regina's calm was not normal. Not for a woman he had just thrown out, not for a woman with nowhere to go. Regina slipped the phone into her bag, lifted her chin, and walked toward the door. Samuel took 1 step after her. Regina, he called. She did not stop. And as she reached the gate, She whispered to herself, almost like a promise, "Jonathan Wellington will hear about this." Samuel heard the name, and his face changed, because everyone in Lagos knew that name. But Samuel did not yet know the truth. Not yet. And that truth was already driving toward him, fast. Regina did not go far that night. She stayed in a quiet apartment in Yaba, clean, simple, safe. The place belonged to a woman everyone there called Auntie Ifunanya. She was kind, spoke softly, and asked no questions. When Regina closed the door behind her, her body finally gave up. She sank onto the couch and cried, not loud, not dramatic, but deep, shaking tears that came from a place that had held pain for too long. Her hand rested on her belly. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the babies inside her. "I tried." Her phone rang again. This time, she answered. Regina, the voice on the other end, said calm but strong. "Where are you?" "Daddy," Regina replied, her voice breaking. Jonathan Wellington did not raise his voice. He never did. His power was not loud. "Tell me where you are," he said. "I am coming." "No," Regina said quickly. "Not yet." There was a pause. "Explain," Jonathan said. Regina took a deep breath and told him everything. She told him about Samuel's insults, about his silence, about Victoria, about his mother, about being pushed out like trash. Jonathan listened without interrupting. When Regina finished, there was silence again. Then Jonathan spoke. "You stayed," he said slowly, "because you hoped he would choose decency." "Yes," Regina whispered. "And he did not." "No." Jonathan exhaled once. "Very well." Regina felt something shift in the air. "I will respect your wish for now," Jonathan continued. "But understand this, my daughter, no one touches what belongs to me," and walks away smiling. Regina closed her eyes. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I know," Jonathan replied. "That is why I am angry." Samuel, on the other hand, slept well that night. For the first time in months, the house felt quiet. Victoria moved in within days. She arrived with boxes, perfume, laughter, and confidence. She changed the curtains, changed the sitting arrangement, changed the energy of the house. Mrs. Beatrice was pleased. "This is how a proper woman behaves," she said one morning as Victoria supervised the cleaners. "Not like that quiet one that always looked tired." Victoria smiled politely. "I believe in structure," she said. "Men like structure." Samuel liked how Victoria spoke, how she made decisions, how she made him feel important again. Within weeks, the divorce papers were signed. Regina did not fight it. That alone surprised Samuel. "She didn't even beg," he told Victoria one night. "Not even once." Victoria laughed lightly. "Some women know when they have lost." Samuel nodded. He did not notice how easily Victoria spoke about Regina, like she was already erased. Life moved fast after that. Samuel's job improved. Or so he thought. He was given new responsibilities, bigger meetings, bigger promises. Victoria told him exciting things too. "The company is planning expansion," she said. "My boss trusts me. He listens to me." Samuel smiled. "Soon, we will both be powerful." Victoria touched his hand. "We already are." They planned their wedding quickly. Big venue, big guest list, big noise. Samuel wanted everyone to see that he had moved on. He sent an invitation to Regina, not by mistake, by choice. "Why invite her?" Victoria asked when she saw the name. Samuel shrugged. "So she can see what she lost." Victoria smiled. "Then let her come." Samuel did not know Regina had received the invitation with calm hands and steady eyes. She read it once. Then she handed it to Jonathan. Jonathan read it slowly. "Interesting," he said. Regina said nothing. Jonathan looked at her. "Do you want to go?" Regina nodded. "Yes." "Why?" Regina thought for a moment. "Because I am no longer afraid." Jonathan studied her face, then nodded once. "Very well," he said. "We will attend." The day of the wedding arrived. Lagos buzzed like a hive. The venue was packed. Influencers, business people, socialites. Samuel stood tall, smiling like a man who thought he had won. Victoria looked perfect beside him. The ceremony went smoothly. And then, the doors opened. Regina arrived, not hurried, not loud, not angry. She walked in with her triplets, calm and steady. Security followed. High-profile people followed. Respect followed. Samuel's world began to shake. We returned to that moment now, back to the wedding hall. Back to the silence. Back to Samuel's dry mouth. "Regina?" he said into the microphone, forgetting where he was. "What is this?" Regina stopped a few steps away from the stage. She looked around the hall slowly, then back at Samuel. "I came for the wedding," she said. "You invited me." Victoria forced a laugh. "This is not funny." Regina turned to her. "I was not joking." Samuel stepped down from the stage. "Why all this drama? Why the security?" Regina smiled faintly. "Because I do not move alone anymore." She raised her hand slightly. One of the men in suits stepped forward and handed Samuel a folder. "What is this?" Samuel asked. "Open it," Regina said. Samuel flipped through the pages. His smile faded. His face turned pale. Victoria leaned closer. "What is it?" Samuel swallowed. "It's my employment letter." Regina nodded. "Correction. Your termination letter." Samuel laughed nervously. "You're joking." "I don't joke about people's livelihoods," Regina replied calmly. Samuel looked around. "You don't have the power to do this." Regina tilted her head slightly. "Don't I?" She turned to the crowd. "My name is Regina Wellington," she said clearly. A murmur rippled through the hall. Regina continued, her voice steady. "I am the only daughter of Jonathan Wellington." The hall exploded with whispers. Victoria stepped back. "No, that's not possible." Regina looked at her. "You work for Wellington Holdings, don't you?" Victoria froze. Regina smiled gently. "My father owns it." Victoria's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Samuel staggered slightly. "You lied to me." Regina shook her head. "No, Samuel. I stayed quiet." She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "I knew about the affair. I knew about the insults. I knew about your plans." Samuel whispered. "Then why did you stay?" Regina's eyes softened for just a second. "Because I hoped you would choose decency." The hall was silent. Regina straightened. "You did not." She snapped her fingers. Another man stepped forward. "Repossession notice," the man said calmly. Samuel felt the room spin. "The house?" Samuel asked weakly. Regina nodded. "It belongs to my family." Mrs. Beatrice gasped loudly from her seat. Victoria shook her head. "This is madness." Regina turned to her fully now. "You are no longer employed," Regina said simply. "Your accounts have been frozen." Victoria screamed. "You can't do this." Regina met her eyes. "I just did." Samuel's knees gave way. He held onto the stage for support. Regina looked down at him. "This ends today," she said quietly. "I protect my children now." She turned away, but before she left, she paused and added, "And Samuel." He looked up, broken. "This is only the beginning." She walked out. The doors closed behind her, and Samuel was left standing in a hall full of witnesses, with no job, no house, no power, and a past that had finally caught up with him. Samuel did not leave the wedding hall immediately. He stood there long after Regina had gone, long after the music stopped, long after guests began whispering and slipping out quietly, like people leaving a bad dream. His ears were ringing. Nothing made sense anymore. Victoria was the first to break. "This is your fault," she screamed, pulling off her veil and throwing it on the floor. "You told me she was nobody." Samuel turned slowly. "You said you were powerful." Victoria laughed a sharp, frightened sound. "I worked for power. I did not sleep with it." Mrs. Beatrice rushed toward them, her voice shaking. "Samuel, say something. Tell them this is a mistake." Samuel opened his mouth. No words came out, because deep inside, a terrible truth was settling. Regina had not destroyed his life. She had only lifted the cover. That same night, Samuel's phone started ringing. First, his bank manager. "Sir," the man said carefully, "your accounts have been placed under review. There are irregular movements linked to Wellington Holdings." Samuel's chest tightened. "What does that mean?" "It means," the man replied, "you no longer have access." The line went dead. Then another call. His landlord. "Samuel," the man said stiffly, "I've received instructions. The house in Lekki. It's not yours. You have 72 hours to vacate." Samuel's knees hit the floor. He held the phone like it could save him. More calls followed. Creditors, business partners, friends who suddenly spoke with distance. By morning, Samuel's world had shrunk to one room. One chair, one mirror. He stared at his reflection and did not recognize the man looking back. Across Lagos, Regina sat quietly in a private lounge at the airport, not rushing, not shaking. Her triplets slept peacefully beside her, unaware of the storm she had just walked through, without raising her voice. Jonathan Wellington sat across from her, calm as always. "You handled that well," he said. Regina did not smile. "I did not enjoy it." Jonathan nodded. "Power is not for enjoyment. It is for protection." Regina looked at her children. "That is all I want." Jonathan leaned back. "Samuel will try to reach you." "I know," Regina said. "He will beg." "I know." Jonathan studied her face. "And when he does..." Regina was quiet for a long moment. "I will listen," she said. "But listening does not mean returning." Jonathan's lips curved slightly. "You are my daughter." Victoria did not sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the bed, makeup smeared, phone in hand, refreshing her email again and again. Termination notice, account suspension, access denied. Her phone buzzed. She answered quickly. "Hello?" A calm female voice replied. "Miss Hawthorne, this is Wellington Holdings Legal Department." Victoria's heart dropped. "We need you to return all company property," the voice continued. "Immediately." Victoria whispered, "Please, this is a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," the voice replied. "Your employment ended the moment you crossed certain lines." The call ended. Victoria screamed. She turned to Samuel, who was sitting silently by the window. "You said she was nothing," Victoria cried. "You ruined me." Samuel looked at her slowly. "No," he said quietly. "We ruined ourselves." Victoria laughed bitterly. "Speak for yourself." She grabbed her bag and stormed out. Samuel did not stop her. He did not even look back. 2 days later, Samuel stood outside a tall building in Ikoyi, Wellington Holdings. He had never entered through the main door before. He had always used side meetings, side deals, side favors. Now, he walked straight to the front desk like a man with nothing left to hide. "I need to see Regina Wellington," he said. The receptionist looked at him calmly. "Do you have an appointment?" Samuel swallowed. "No." "Then I'm sorry," she replied. "She is unavailable." Samuel leaned closer. "Please." The receptionist hesitated, then picked up the phone. A few minutes later, Samuel was escorted upstairs, not to an office, to a waiting room. He sat there alone. Minutes passed. Then the door opened. Regina walked in, not rushed, not angry. She looked peaceful. Samuel stood quickly. "Regina," she nodded. "Samuel." They stood facing each other like strangers. Samuel's voice cracked. "I didn't know." Regina looked at him calmly. "You knew enough." "I didn't know who you were," he said desperately. Regina tilted her head. "Would it have mattered?" Samuel had no answer. "I loved you," he whispered. Regina's eyes softened, but only for a moment. "I loved the man I thought you were," she replied. Samuel stepped closer. "Give me another chance." "If you now." Regina looked down at her belly, then back at him. "I gave you years," she said. "You gave me pain." Silence filled the room. Then Regina added, "This conversation is over." She turned to leave. "Regina!" Samuel shouted. She stopped. Samuel's voice shook. "What about the children?" Regina turned slowly. Her eyes were firm now. "You lost the right to ask," she said. She walked out. The door closed. Samuel slid down into the chair, his body heavy with regret. He did not notice the man watching him through the glass wall down the hall. A man in a dark suit. "On the phone?" "Yes," the man said quietly. "He came exactly as expected." Pause. "No," the man continued. "He doesn't know yet." Another pause. Then, "But he will, very soon." Samuel left Wellington Holdings like a man walking out of a courtroom after sentencing. The sun was bright outside, but he felt cold. For days after that meeting, Samuel moved through Lagos like a ghost. He slept on a friend's couch in Surulere. The friend was polite, but distant. People were careful around him now. Like bad luck could spread by touch. His phone stopped ringing. No calls, no meetings, no respect. Even his mother stopped answering him. Mrs. Beatrice Hartley had her own fire to put out. The women who once invited her to high society lunches stopped calling. The charity board she bragged about quietly removed her name. her church seat front row. Right side was suddenly taken by someone else. When she asked why, a woman leaned in and whispered, "You should lie low, lie low." Mrs. Beatrice had never lived low a day in her life. She stormed into Samuel's temporary room that evening, eyes sharp, voice angry. "You have ruined us," she said. Samuel looked up slowly. "You helped." Mrs. Beatrice froze. "What did you say?" "You pushed her." Samuel continued, his voice flat. "You insulted her. You told me she was blocking my blessing." Mrs. Beatrice scoffed. "I didn't know she was a Wellington." Samuel laughed bitterly. "That's the point, Mum. You didn't care who she was. You cared how she looked." Mrs. Beatrice opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she had no defense. She left without another word. Across the city, Regina was settling into a quiet rhythm, not in a mansion, not in a glass tower. In a modest home tucked away in a calm part of Ikeja, she now went by another name, Eliana Moore, not because she was hiding in fear, but because she wanted peace. Only a few people knew where she was. Jonathan Wellington respected her choice. He visited quietly, without noise, without cameras. One afternoon, he watched her feed the triplets. "You could have everything," Jonathan said gently. "Any house. Any life." Regina smiled softly. "I have everything." Jonathan nodded. That was when Regina's phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello? Regina." Samuel's voice came through, thin and desperate. Her heart tightened, but her face stayed calm. "How did you get this number?" she asked. "I begged," Samuel replied. "Please don't hang up." Regina closed her eyes briefly. "Speak." "I'm sorry," Samuel said. "I was blind. I was proud. I was cruel." Regina listened. "I didn't know your father." She cut in gently. "Samuel, stop there." Silence. "This is not about my father," she continued. "This is about who you were when you thought I was nothing." Samuel's voice broke. "I have lost everything." Regina's tone did not change. "You lost what you built on lies," Samuel whispered. "I miss my children." Regina felt a deep ache, but she did not bend. "They are safe," she said. "That is enough for now. Will I ever see them?" Samuel asked. Regina paused. "I don't know," she said truthfully. Then she ended the call. Jonathan watched her carefully. "Are you okay?" Regina nodded. "I am choosing mercy, not weakness." Jonathan smiled faintly. "That is power." Victoria Hawthorne was not choosing mercy. She was choosing survival. Her friends stopped answering her calls. Her lifestyle vanished overnight. She tried to reach Samuel. No answer. She tried to reach Regina. No access. One evening, Victoria sat alone in a small apartment, far from Victoria Island. The walls were bare. The silence was loud. Her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "We warned you." Victoria's fingers trembled. Another message followed. Unknown number. "You crossed the wrong family." Victoria threw the phone away and screamed. Samuel's final breaking point came a week later. He received a court notice, not about Regina, about debts. Loans he had taken under false confidence. Deals he thought were protected, all exposed. He sat on the floor, holding the papers, breathing hard. This was bigger than shame now. This was collapse. That night, he went to the one place he thought might still listen, the church. He sat in the back row. The sermon was about choices, about seeds and harvest. Samuel laughed quietly to himself. After service, the pastor approached him. "Samuel," the man said gently. "You look troubled." Samuel nodded. "I am." "Have you made peace with God?" Samuel swallowed. "I don't know how." The pastor placed a hand on his shoulder. "Start with truth." Truth. Samuel walked out of the church feeling heavier than before, because truth meant admitting something he had avoided. He had not lost Regina because she was powerful. He had lost her because he failed a simple test of character. Late that night, Regina stood by the window of her quiet home, holding one of the triplets. The city lights glowed softly. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Jonathan. "Regina," he said, "something has started." "What kind of something?" she asked. Jonathan's voice was calm, but serious. "Samuel is about to discover just how deep his mistakes go," he said. "And someone else is watching him now." Regina felt a chill. Who? She asked. Jonathan paused. A group he borrowed from, he said. People who do not forgive easily. Regina's grip tightened around her child. And Samuel doesn't know, Jonathan added, that they believe you are the reason for his fall. Regina's heart pounded. Daddy, she said slowly, what are you saying? Jonathan exhaled. I am saying, he replied, that this story is not done. Regina looked out into the quiet Lagos night, and for the first time since she left Samuel's house, she felt real fear. Samuel learned the truth on a quiet morning. No shouting, no warning, just a knock on the door. He was staying in a small room behind a mechanic workshop in Mushin. The air smelled of oil and dust. He had barely slept. His court papers were spread on the floor like a bad puzzle. The knock came again, firm, calm. Samuel stood slowly and opened the door. 3 men stood outside, not loud, not angry, just serious. One of them spoke, Samuel Hartley. Samuel nodded. Yes, you owe money, the man said simply. Samuel's throat went dry. I will pay. I just need time. The man tilted his head. Time was given. Samuel stepped back. Please, the second man spoke now. You used names you did not have. Power you did not own. Samuel's hands began to shake. I can explain. The first man shook his head. We are not here for explanations. They handed him a paper, a final notice. Then they left. Samuel closed the door and slid to the floor. This was it. Everything he built was gone. Everything he thought he controlled was never his. And for the first time, Samuel did not blame Regina. He blamed himself. Regina felt it before she heard it. A strange heaviness in her chest. She was in the kitchen, cutting fruit for the children, when Jonathan's driver arrived unexpectedly. Madam, the driver said respectfully, Sir Jonathan asked me to bring you. Regina wiped her hands. Is everything okay? The driver hesitated. Yes and no. Regina understood. Jonathan Wellington sat in a quiet office when Regina arrived. No glass walls, no noise, just calm. Sit, he said gently. Regina sat. Jonathan folded his hands. Samuel is in trouble. Regina did not speak. He borrowed from dangerous people, Jonathan continued. They are closing in. Regina's heart tightened. Will they hurt him? Jonathan looked at her closely. They will hurt what he has left. Regina looked down. Jonathan spoke again. They believe you are the reason his life fell apart. Regina lifted her eyes sharply. That is not true. I know, Jonathan said, but they do not. Regina stood up. Then I need to speak. Jonathan raised a hand. Be careful what you offer. Regina's voice was steady. I will not offer myself. I will offer truth. Samuel was walking along a busy road in Lagos when a black car stopped beside him. The window rolled down. Get in, a calm voice said. Samuel froze. Then he saw Regina. She was seated inside, calm, composed, not angry, not proud, just present. Samuel's knees weakened. He got in. The car moved. Samuel stared at his hands. I didn't ask you to come. Regina nodded. I know. Why are you here? He asked. Regina looked straight ahead. Because I refuse to let my children grow up hearing lies about their father. Samuel's voice broke. I failed you. Yes. Regina said softly. I failed them, he whispered. Yes, she repeated. Silence filled the car. Samuel swallowed hard. I deserve whatever happens to me. Regina turned to him. This is where we are different. She leaned forward slightly. I do not destroy people to prove strength. I protect life to prove character. Samuel looked at her, confused. Regina continued. I will clear the debt. Samuel's head snapped up. What? Not for you, she said quickly. For peace. Samuel shook his head. I can't accept that. You already lost the right to refuse. Regina replied gently. Tears rolled down Samuel's face. I am sorry, he said again. Not because I lost everything, but because I hurt something good. Regina nodded. That is the first honest thing you have said. The car stopped. Regina opened the door. This is where we part. Samuel stepped out slowly. Will I ever see them? He asked, voice trembling. Regina paused. When you learn to be decent without reward, she said. Then maybe. She closed the door. The car drove away, and Samuel stood alone, but alive. Victoria Hawthorne watched the news on a small television in her flat. A short business report played. Wellington Holdings announces internal restructuring and ethical reforms. Victoria turned it off and laughed bitterly. She had lost everything, and no one was coming to save her. Months passed. Lagos moved on. Stories faded. Names changed. In a quiet neighborhood, far from noise and pride, a woman known as Eliana walked her children to school every morning. She dressed simply. She smiled easily. She greeted people kindly. No one knew she was rich. No one needed to. She volunteered at a small clinic. She paid school fees quietly for children who had no parents. She listened more than she spoke. When people thanked her, she would say, "I was helped once too." Jonathan visited often, always proud, never controlling. "You chose a harder path," he said one day. Regina smiled. "But a cleaner one." And somewhere in Lagos, Samuel worked quietly at a small firm. No title, no praise, just effort. He had learned too late, but he had learned. And Regina? She watched her children laugh in the sunlight and knew something deeply true. Power fades, beauty changes, money moves, but character stays, and mercy, real mercy, always wins. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? Do well to let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Stay blessed.